Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. And you lift us up on wings like eagles. Blessed be your name in the land that is plentiful, where streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name, when found in the desert place. Though I walk through the wilderness, blessed be your name. And every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. And when the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be your name, when the sun shining down on me, when the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name, on a road marked with Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall, but you have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won, for you have never failed me yet. Promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. I know the night won't last. Your word will come to pass. My heart will sing your praise again. Jesus, you're still enough to keep me within your love. My heart will sing your praise again. Promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You'll never still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is do it again and again. Your promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, your faithfulness. And I'm still in your hands, 'cause this is my confidence. You never failed me yet.
I have an 815 ethics course that I teach. In order to get there on time, I take my car to the train station, I take the train to the bus stop, and then I take the bus to the university. And for 3 days a week, for 3 hours, for the first time in my life, I'm the minority. Have you ever been in a new situation before? A place that jars you out of your normal routine just enough to get a real glimpse at who you are? I've been appalled at the emotions I've felt, and the unconscious hand on my wallet confirms what I never wanted to admit. There are plenty of open seats, but I just can't seem to scoot away from my discomfort. In fact, instead of viewing the entire bus as a space full of diverse and wonderful people, all of whom are mothers and brothers and sisters with love and with aspirations and with dreams, I viewed it as a hostile environment, full of the other, those who can't be trusted. As I reflected on this, I started looking inward. What was the cause of my anxiety? I came out with something surprising. It wasn't my beliefs in God. I believed in a creative and loving God who gives every human being dignity and worth. It wasn't my upbringing. My parents had loved diversity. My church had valued diversity. It wasn't my morals. Of course, racism and discrimination wasn't going to bring about the kingdom of God, the ethics that I believed in. But then it hit me. My problem wasn't my beliefs in God. It wasn't some evil seed deep down in my heart. It was simpler. It was much more profound than that. The problem was with my geography. You see, I'm simply not around people who aren't like me. I live in the suburbs, making sure that I'm not the minority. I eat in places where people are like me. I make friends with people who are just like me. I have a few token friends who are racially different, and I have all kinds of superficial reasons to justify my insulated life. And in all these ways, I'm nothing like Jesus. This is exactly what Christianity means by the incarnation. It's not a complicated doctrine about the nature of Jesus. It's not a complicated recipe of how many parts human to how many parts divine. It's a profound statement about the relationship between love and geography. If we believe we can love like Jesus from afar, haven't we rendered the coming of Christ a waste? So yes, it is true that having a God that becomes human is messy, that it might make him look weak and unremarkable. That's also the power of the gospel. The beauty of a God whose love wins out over reputation, whose desire for relationships wins out over the awkwardness of a God in human dress. The gospel is about a God who came down to sit next to us on the bus.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning. We're continuing our conversations where we just look at different scenarios, situations, issues involving people, and what's the way of Jesus through this situation. So we got a couple of friends of mine that I've known for a long time, since they're very young, Caitlin and Daniel Eteroma. And why don't you guys just, these are some of probably the most creative, talented people I know. And I'm sure you'll see some of that. But Caitlin, Daniel, why don't you guys just, you've been married for how long now?
It'll be 5 years in September.
Wow, that's 5 years already.
Yeah.
That's fly fast. And it's just not the two of you in this family.
No, we have a little girl. She's almost 2, and her name is Thea. And she's so much fun. She's full of energy right now, so that's awesome. So the three of us in our house.
So it's busy.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, other than parenting, what do you guys do with your time as far as ministry, work, kind of keeping busy?
Yeah, so we both work at Hope City Church part-time, which is, I think, church work and ministry is like a big passion of ours. So we've always sort of interwoven that in whatever we do. So we both work part-time at the church, but then on the side, we run a few businesses. So one is Hey You Studio. So it's a photography and video rental studio that we opened just over a year ago. And then we have our own production company where we do photo and video as well. Lots of weddings, some corporate work, and some commercial work. So, yeah.
Yeah, so between that, it's what kind of fills our time.
And it's always like, as long as I've known you guys, there's always been this like wanting to have like a creativity outlet. Like that's always been kind of like who you guys have been as couples, eh? Is just that kind of pushing out creativity in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of morphed and developed, because when we started, we didn't really know what it was going to look like. And we thought we would just, take some photos and make some videos like casually, but then it really sparked just this passion within us and we work really well together. And so we like doing projects together and even helping people who have this idea, help them execute it and make it happen. So we love taking other people's kind of dreams and ideas and giving them the tools to make it happen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do, the theme this morning, was just looking at racism. It has become such a big talk. I think it's been a big topic for a long time, but just what's happened down in the States and in Canada and everything, it's becoming more and more of a topic. And so I just wanted to talk to you guys about this. And I've known you both since you guys were junior high school. So like, Dan, you grew up going to Hope City, or when I showed up in your life, you were at Hope City. And
Mm-hmm.
Here is like youth group at that time. It's predominantly, white youth and stuff like that. And you're there. So what has been your experience with racism? Like, just share a little bit of like these encounters for the rest of us.
Yeah, so my experience is, I would say, not all that unique, and it's not all that like crazy, like nothing, like no real crazy experiences. But I think going to Hope City, that is predominantly white, I got to maybe see and experience a lot of things where, and maybe Caitlin's seen this in the reverse, where, you know, being the only Black person in a room of white people is like a very common thing. And, you know, when I'm younger, it seems odd, but now it's almost normal and become more commonplace. And I think my parents uh, just really raised me in a way that it wasn't an issue. So I wasn't like concerned that there was only white people in the room and stuff like that. So yeah, growing up, and that was a lot of our community, but my parents made a very clear effort to stay connected with um, like our heritage and our heritage communities. So like our parents were always involved in the Nigerian community, and even within the church, there's like a group of Nigerians, and they all kind of like look up to my dad as like one of the leaders of that group. So we always, even though maybe the church is predominantly white, there's like sort of subsects and sub-communities that we still really stay engaged and involved with. And you've probably seen that in our marriage too, you know, going to different family gatherings and different events and different sort of parties, and still really connected to our heritage in the Nigerian community as well.
Yeah, so for an example, when we got married, obviously there's a lot of learning that I had to do on my part, a lot of experiences that were new to me in terms of experiencing the Nigerian heritage and Nigerian community and stuff like that. But it was so beautiful and it was so encouraging to see. So when we got married, we had our traditional Canadian wedding, and we had a lot of, you know, it was a very multicultural, multi-generational wedding, which was a lot of fun and amazing. And then we also had a Nigerian reception. And so we had full traditional Nigerian garb, and it was gold and burgundy, and it was beautiful. And it was really cool for me just to learn and see the richness in their community. And it was just, it's really beautiful. It was really, really cool. But there's been a lot of things that I've had to learn in the process. And I think my eyes have been open to a lot of things. Because it's like, yeah, as a white girl, I hadn't really experienced racism. Like I hadn't ever. And so seeing it and being welcomed in this community, just learning a lot. And so it's been really cool. And it's also shown, I think, you know, the beauty of being a part of a community like Hope City, or part of our families where like there's just friendship, just friendship across borders. So it's been really cool to see that. Yeah.
So I remember just seeing on social media, just different times. I think it was you, Caitlin, just made a post about your daughter and growing up, and just being like, you're kind of just saying, I won't be able to quote it, but almost just recognizing like, hey, I recognize she is going to be seen, treated differently, or something along those lines. Yeah. So let's just maybe talk about that, like from a mom's heart, what's kind of going on there for you, and what you see.
Yes, it's been an interesting journey for me. I think early in our relationship, and especially early in our marriage, there's a lot of times where I'd be like, I'd ask Daniel questions just to be like, okay, so there's obviously things we need to be considering in this. And thankfully we live in Canada and Edmonton, and it's a very, you know, accepting community in that way. But there's a lot of questions that I had, but I always felt this, like, I don't know, I'm not going to fully understand it in this type of dynamic. I will, because I love Daniel, and I'll see it and I'll hear it, and my eyes and ears have been open to it, and I experience it because we're connected, we're married, those types of things. But then it was actually just even during pregnancy, and this idea of, and recognizing, and then having a daughter, I think there's been a few layers to it that have been it's been this almost unraveling, and I guess recognizing that, you know, she will look at me, because I remember like looking up to my mom or to my sister, or, you know, my aunts and my grandma and different things like that. And I very much saw myself in them. Same color skin, same eye color, same type of hair. I could ask my mom, how do you do your hair? Can I use your hair products? Those types of like girly things. And it was starting to realize like, okay, she's going to look at me and realize I have a different color of skin, and and it's like this, there's this tension in this because she will be treated differently because of her skin, and not treated necessarily better differently. Like there's going to be instances where she's treated differently and it's going to impact her in a negative way potentially. And so that started to like, okay, this is an interesting thing. We're not going to be able to have those moments where, or those experiences will be different where, you know, mom, can I use your hairbrush? No, it will hurt if you use my hairbrush. We have to use different hairbrushes. You can't play with you can play with my makeup, but you won't be able to, like, our skin tones are different, so our makeup is going to be different. You know, those types of layers started to really unravel, and it just has become this like moment where, you know, is she going to resent me because of white privilege type of idea? Is all of these types of layers have been processing, and obviously how we raise her and different things like that. But I think these are things that I started to realize as a white mom with a mixed race family, raising a daughter, that these are things that we're going to have to navigate, but that's okay. Cause like, thankfully, with the faith in Jesus, we know that she's made perfectly and wonderfully, and we can affirm that in her. And it's not based on her skin color. It's not based on, you know, how mom has straight hair and she has these beautiful curls. And, you know, it's not based on all of these outward experiences that I think culture really and society really define people in. You know, it's like, okay, well, you're white, so this is you and this is what you are, and all these things. It's like the beauty of Jesus is that just doesn't, like, it doesn't exist in the same way. You know, it's like, I've made you perfectly the way you are. And so I'm excited. And in this process, just in my relationship with God and processing through this motherhood side of it, it's like, what an opportunity it is to be able just to affirm her and be like, yeah, we are different, but that's like the best thing, you know? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a rambling way to say it, but yeah.
That's great. Now you both have great parents. I know them both, but Daniel, you alluded to your upbringing, and you've got, like, if I could articulate, your parents, I would say are, you know, they're wise, educated, wise, but also very strong. Like, they're not pushovers by any stretch. And so that obviously shaped in how you said this upbringing of just confidence in who you are, and having this, So what I'm trying to get at is, what do you see yourself in your parenting? What do you want to instill in your daughter, and how some of those kind of things that your parents did for you? What do you think? You know, none of us as parents have it all kind of mapped out, but just some of those thoughts of just like, hey, here are some of the things I want to impart to my daughter that maybe my parents kind of helped me with.
Yeah, I think a big thing that my parents did for me was actually just giving me freedom to express and to do the things that I really liked and really wanted to explore. I think, and it's kind of funny because, like, a lot of Nigerian culture like really pushes education and really pushes like professionalism, and like, you ought to be a doctor or you ought to be a lawyer and stuff like that. But myself and my brother like really pursued music, and my brother even more so, and that's what he does. And I think what helped me a lot was my parents just gave us that freedom to say, like, hey, if you want to do something, you can go ahead and do that, because we love you and we support you. And I think that just sort of expanded into like everything. And that's what I want to kind of teach Thea as well, is like, I love and support you, and you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. And like, I'm not going to put limits on you based on anything. And other people may try to put limits on you, but those limits aren't going to exist in this household, kind of thing. Like, what you desire, what you want to pursue, is you have like our full support. And I think that's like a super, super powerful thing for me, because I think a lot of times, especially in conversations like this, people want to know what to do or want to know like what the answer is. And I think for me, what I've learned is it's not about necessarily everybody thinking the same thing, but it's about everybody being united So like for her, that would just mean like, if it's, let's say she wants to be an athlete or something like that, even if like I don't think that that's the best thing for her, sometimes it's better to show that we're united and together in deciding and moving forward together, as opposed to always thinking whatever she thinks is the same thing that I think. So it's not like I want to push my ideals on her. I just want her to know that we're united in whatever she decides to do.
So it's not this mold that, you know, you have to go in this direction. I remember speaking at a retreat, and I'll say the culture. It was a Chinese church, so I was speaking at their youth retreat, and I started talking to the youth. I'm like, you know, the older ones that are getting close to graduating. I'm like, oh, what are your thoughts? What are you gonna do? And everybody was engineer or doctor. And then I was like, what? And so I started digging more into that, and then I realized that was the pressure from the parents, was those get a choice, engineer or doctor. After that, there is no choice, you know. And I was like, wow, there was this mold that they had to be a part of. So it sounds like your parents were like, no, there is no mold. What gives you life, and go for that.
Totally. Yeah.
Nice. So how, like when we look at this whole idea of race and what's taking place around our world, and I just want to get your perspective, like as a follower of Jesus, like I'm finding this is becoming so volatile, and it's to the point where I find that people are even afraid of like what to say. And I'll be honest, out of all the topics we've talked about, this is the one that I'm like the most like, I don't want to say anything that'll offend anybody, even though I know my intentions are appropriate. But it's just, it's become like, I feel like almost like you either don't want to say anything because you don't want to say the wrong thing, or you say way too much, and it's just this kind of extremes. So what would be a way of someone that's just trying to follow Jesus, that maybe you can just give some, either or both of you, just give some points or advice of just how we can try to follow Jesus and address this issue well?
Yeah, so I think a big thing that's going on right now is people are trying to be right about something, or like trying to find the right way to do it, or trying to be, like we were talking about, left and right, and so polarizing. And it's like, well, which one is right? And it's like, not that there's something that's right, but I think as a believer, it's really seeking the truth of Jesus, and like knowing and seeking his heart and what he would want to demonstrate to us, and how we should live that out in our own lives. I think the biggest thing is really, first of all, just like as a white person, really checking your heart, really checking your motives, really checking what's behind all of this. Because I think a lot of people, they're like, well, I have a black friend, so I'm not racist, so that makes me okay. And it's, sure, maybe that's part of it, but the real big part of it is like, okay, so how do I use my influence in my community to begin to shape other people and begin to influence other people in the way that Jesus would want me to, rather than just going right up to the bare minimum. I'm not racist, so it's all good. So I think, yeah, really checking your heart, and then looking to be educated. Like there's so much history that all this is steeped in. It's not like it's just this one situation, this one occurrence. There's so much history. There's so much that's gone on before that's really fueled and like led to these moments. So knowing that history, I think, will really begin to shape your perspective. Yeah, so those are my kind of two first steps. Check your heart and begin to learn, begin to seek the truth, not seeking what's right, because every situation is going to be different. And because it's like, there's no like list of things that I can give any person, or any white person in particular, to say like, if you do these things, then you'll show everybody that you're not a racist. If you say these exact things, then everybody will be like, okay, you're not a racist. Like there's no checklist.
Yeah.
No secret handshake or something.
Yeah,
I can learn.
exactly.
Twice.
Yeah, exactly. Because that would be so much easier, but it's going to take like the self-study and the self-work to really engage and see like, maybe something that I said was not appropriate, and maybe it's going to take reaching out to that individual and, you know, having a heart-to-heart conversation, but it's going to be different in your context. So
Yeah, I think just to add on to that, like, just everybody's process and everybody's situation, everybody's circle, everybody's conversations are different around this. And I think one of the key factors that we've experienced, but also that I've learned, is just like, and what Jesus teaches and exemplifies when he's engaging with a whole bunch of communities and unifying and bringing, you know, the truth. And it's truly like the truth of Jesus that will set us free in this. But it's recognizing just a heart of humility. And it's like, it's just even asking me like, hey, Lord, like, I honestly don't know, like, please help me. And I think there's been a lot of times in this season where, and in our marriage and different things, where I'm just like, oh man, like, Lord, like, we need you, you know, like, even in society right now, it's like, oh my gosh, like, can it be even like any more clear how desperately we just like need you and your grace, please, you know? And I think it's just having a heart of humility to be like, hey, I don't know everything. And I'm trying to understand what you've been through, right? Want to make sure that, you know, I'm exemplifying the heart of Jesus. And it's like, if we're being prideful, it's like, oh, it's like, that's not me. Or like, oh, like, that's your issue. Or we have those tones of pride and arrogance. It's like, well, first of all, that's not helpful. And then 2, that's definitely not the heart of Jesus. And then 3, it's just not going to help anything. Like, it doesn't help in friendships. It doesn't help in community. It doesn't help in society when pride and arrogance exist. And so I think just the posture of humility and just teachability and just, yeah, like, Lord, like, show us your way, like, show us the truth. Teach us once again how to love our neighbors, how to love our brothers, how to love our sisters, how to, you know, be the light of Jesus in our homes and in our families, in our society, in our friendships, all of those types of things. I think that's even in conversations, like when someone's willing to, you know, have a posture of humility, or even in marriage, when you have a posture of humility, the conversation is completely different than when you're trying to be like, oh no, I'm right, you're the idiot. You know, it's a completely different experience. And I think there's unity in that when it's like, okay, I just want to learn. And if it makes you uncomfortable, good. Get uncomfortable. Like, we're so used to comfort, and we're so used to it all feeling and being perfect. And if it doesn't fit, then, oh, I can't handle that, you know? But it's like, get uncomfortable and have hard conversations. And this isn't the only hard conversation we should be having either.
Sure.
But I don't know, that's kind of my perspective, I think, and what I've learned in the process. And still don't know it all at all. Still don't, yeah, there's lots to learn and experience, but hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, no, I like that. Just this idea of, so often we want to be right, win an argument, you know, and this spirit of like, I'm right, you know, you're wrong, I'm going to put you in your place, to shift that as a Christ follower to this humble love, where it's just like, I'm just going to try to love you all. And during this time of all these conversations, and I've been reading the Gospels lots this summer, and it's just like, Jesus really gives no option. You got to love everybody.
Yeah.
So, from your enemy to your most intimate person, like your spouse or a family member, you know, like that whole spectrum, you got to love them all.
Yeah.
There's no out clause, you know. And so it's just like that's really challenged me, because there's people that I don't really want to love because they drive me.
Everybody but you.
Yeah. So when push comes to shove, is shifting the posture from trying to be right to loving well. So that's great. So what's the last question? Let's just say hypothetically you have a few more kids, you know, like 10 or so. But you know, your family, your kids are growing up. What would be the picture of the church that you want your kids to grow in. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying like, you know, I want Hope City to be like this, but just like the kind of the atmosphere, the people, like the situation. What do you want your kids growing up in?
Wow.
Yeah, I think a phrase that's come up a lot, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but people will say, you know what, I don't see color. And I think that's wrong, because we all do see color. And I think what that will mean in the future, what I hope it means in the future, is that people will see color and acknowledge it and know that there's history behind everybody. And I think as soon as you know the story behind somebody, you can appreciate them a lot more and you can understand them a lot more. So I think as we look at each other, we will begin to understand and appreciate each other a little bit more. I think my classic example is when I'm driving and somebody's like tailgating me and they're speeding, and I'm like, how important could this person be that they're in such a rush? Like, what is their problem? But then I think, well, maybe they actually are in a rush and they really do need to get where they're going. And as soon as I like shift my thinking, I'm like, oh, I should just let this person by and let them go where they need to go, because there's always more to the story. So I think the church will look like us engaging in other people's stories, not hoping that they're the same, knowing that they're different, and still being like, hey, we're going to do this together. We're still going to love each other. We're still going to move forward together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the best. I love you. You know, just like this atmosphere of appreciation and excitement, you know, of when anybody walks through the door of your house or walks through the door, you know, your fence into your backyard or the door of the building that the church is meeting in. It's like, hey, come on in. Like, we're so excited you're here. Like, and we want to get to know you. I think it's just kind of that atmosphere of excitement and almost anticipation. And again, this is probably because like the creative side of me a little bit, but it's like, what would it look like if the community was dreaming for one another? You know, like when Theo walks into the room of the kids ministry, you know, everybody's like dreaming, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, what does God have in store for you? And what does God have in store for you? All of the other kids, you know, same with all of the adults in the community, rather than being like, oh, that's their friend circle, that's what they do, or that's their profession, or, you know, whatever it might be. But it's just like, oh man, like, what does God have next for you? Like, how can we be dreaming with you and for you? And just kind of that excitement and that appreciation, like you said, in the no matter who it is. Yeah.
That's good. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. This is it's been really rich. It's good for me. I've been loving these, but this was good. For everyone watching, if you have any questions or comments, feel free just to put them in the comment section. If anything you want prayer for, feel free to put that in there too, and we'll answer those and pray for those. But Daniel, Caitlin, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And yeah, I'm very excited to see where your guys' journey and family leads you in the years to come.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Tyson. We appreciate it.
No problem. All right, thanks for joining us, church. We'll see you next Sunday.
Morning, church. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is just a couple of announcements I wanted to throw to you guys. It's coming up in the next little bit. Next, we're going to be having our Church in the Park on August 9th. Again, that's August 9th at 10 a.m. Back where we had our first Church in the Park at the North Millbourne Community League. And we're going to be having it just located west of the playground. So if you want to bring yourself a lawn chair and come join us on a Sunday morning, we would love to have you out. Next, we're looking at our kids and youth. As kids and youth kind of are changing over the summer, and we're looking to do some more out-of-the-box programming. Pastor Carolyn really inspired us to do some more mini meetups, as we'd say. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to hit me up at matt@citysouthchurch.com for youth. And for the kids side of things, if you want to email Carolyn at City South Church to arrange a meetup at all. So lastly, I just wanted to thank you guys for your tithes and offering in this season. If you're something that you're interested in, you can go over to our website at www.citysouthchurch.com and you can click the Give tab. Without this, throughout this season, guys, we wouldn't be able to make any of this possible. So thank you in advance for your giving. And I hope you guys can enjoy, hopefully, this wonderful weather that's going to this next week. and we'll see you back here online next